Oh. All right. We are back. Okay. DMVR Draft Pod, baby. Welcome into the show. downtown Denver, above the DMVR bar, not the Toyota Lounge, but still welcoming you in. We are driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Now we can tweet it out from the Broncos account, do all the things. I am so damn excited, Jakester, to be doing this with you today. This is what we live for, you know. It's a little annoying, everyone having their takes this time of year. I get a bit frustrated. Everyone's smarter. Everyone's, you know,
the next
know-it-all.
They found.
Yeah. We've been talking about these guys for more than a year, and now's the time. Just a week away, we get into edge rushers and O-line. Two sneaky spots the Broncos could be looking at in this draft. And yeah, we get to record in our new studio. What's better than that?
Not much. I mean, the weather could be a bit better outside.
The weather could be better.
I'm not complaining, man. It's Friday.
I love that. Shout out to Hank and Justin, who aren't with us, but we always keep in mind. Okay,
they're still alive, though, by the way.
They are. Right. Just physically not in studios. Yes. That wasn't a tribute to our fallen co-hosts. Oh God. Good. See, that's what we needed to get back on track.
Just wanted to set us straight there.
It's an important clarification. Yes. It's an important clarification. No doubt about that, Jake. No doubt about it. Look, there's no time to waste.
Let's go.
We were born in the darkness, much like Bane, everyone else, you know. Yeah. They tried to be raised in it, but this is our time. This is our time to shine. Let's get into these edge rushers, and let's do it this way. We both give our top fives.
Okay.
And then we each pick two guys from said top fives to talk about.
Okay.
You want me to start, or would you like to start?
You can start, but are we starting from the top or starting from 5?
We'll start 1 through 5.
Okay.
You ready for mine?
Yes.
Okay. Abdul Carter. Everyone, no one should be surprised. Only true first round or higher grade, though, I have at the entire position. Everyone else has at least one fatal flaw that makes it very hard for me to slap a first round grade on them. After that, though, it's a very tight tier. I mean, my second edge rusher through my 8th edge rusher are separated by 12 spots on my board. So even though we're just doing the top 5, there's the caveat. James Pierce Jr. is my edge rusher 2 from Tennessee.
Okay.
Mike Green is my edge rusher 3.
Okay.
Donovan
Eziraku, I think is how it's... That's what I heard this morning.
No, that's good. And to my credit, I feel like what I said was not that far off. Okay. Usually it's way more far off.
You were.
And JT Tuimoloau, which my stupid Google app, you know, I'm driving, but I'm looking up stats when I'm grinding. The Google app, though, you're telling JT Tuimoloau CFB stat, like Polamalu.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it was clueless to what I was saying.
Some Polynesian recipes in there.
Yeah, exactly. So JT Tuimoloau rounds it out with my top 5. 4 of those guys are 1 through 4 in tackles for a loss, leading the country last season. The only 4 to go over 20 tackles for a loss in last year's college football season. That was coincidental. That was not planned. I only realized that in retrospect. Jakester, the floor is yours.
Okay. I'm going to go with Abdul Carter first. Then James Pierce is my guy.
Let's go.
I love him.
Consensus.
I like Michael Williams. I just love the frame. I love the length and I love the frame. There's a lot to work with. I just think that's the type of athlete / body type you bet on.
There are many of those guys. I leaned more speed rushers at the top, but yes, there are a lot of those guys like Michael Williams who just, it's like, yeah, the NFL game's a power game, and he sure fits that.
I'll go Mike Green. I'll take the production at that point. He's got his limitations. Okay. I'm sure we'll get into it at some point. I'm going to go Eziraku, I think 5th. I want to put Scourton, but There's some interesting stuff with him, especially when it comes to his playing weight the last 2 seasons and what he was asked to do when he transferred into A&M.
Under 6'3", Scourton. I also know if you and I sat down for 20 minutes and just watched his Purdue tape, we would talk ourselves into him being our 5th edge rusher.
That's might be my mistake from this morning because I put on A&M and I was like, let me go see what.
Yep.
And then it was like, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. It's a fascinating class. I think there's like 12 of these guys I'd feel really good about going top 12.
Same.
I think it's a sneaky position that the Broncos could address earlier than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the bigger edges like the Mikael Williams, who could be upgrades on Jonathan Cooper. We all love Jonathan Cooper, but I think he too has some limitations. And I think from a Broncos standpoint in round 1, even if they didn't go edge in the top 20, you may very easily be tracking when that run on edge rushers begins.
Mm-hmm.
Because that might be where teams are shuffling around, trying to move up, that kind of stuff, and that could impact the Broncos pick at 20. Who's your first one you want to talk about in your top 5?
I want to talk about James Pierce.
Yeah.
Let me pull him up real quick.
Fun.
So, 2023. This time last year, we're talking about this guy as potential first overall pick in the top 5 range.
I think we kind of all had him rated ahead of Abdul Carter coming into the season. Our first episode to preview next year's draft, dead of summer, we do like a top 10, rivaling top 10s.
Right.
And he was like in all our top 5s. We were very excited about him coming into the season. And that defensive line led the Vols to a playoff spot.
Yep. Production took a slight downtick this last year, 7.5 sacks. He had 10 last year with 15 TFLs. The length and the power, the speed to power is what sells me.
Yep. He also ran a 4.47.
He's an incredible athlete, that too. Which I think that's what I valued, I think, in this top 5 is just the athleticism. Like I said, it's the body type, the athleticism, that kind of blend, like, especially when you look at Sean Payton. I mean, George Payton's a different conversation, I'd guess, but Sean Payton it might have been more Mickey Loomis now that I think about it, but they love taking these developmental edge guys who are just like physical specimens and then trying to mold them into players. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't.
I mean, it's basically the Eagles blueprint, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, no, it's his upside is high. I will also choose to talk about him.
Yeah.
That 4.47 he ran, electric first step, combined with that 6'5" frame. Even though he's under 250 pounds at 6'5", he doesn't get bullied as much as you'd expect. That said, he's raw. Why wasn't Tennessee playing him more? Obviously, they were rotating heavily on the D-line, and that seemed to be a focus. Also, I think, as is kind of at the forefront right now, Tennessee's been dealing with like balancing all these guys they've made a lot of promises to, and I think that's why the rotation was heavy, was to not leave anyone out. And what he does, all other areas that aren't rushing the passer, let's put defending the run to the side for a second, but defending in space, sideline to sideline, motor, pursuit, just fluidity of movement in space. He is like otherworldly for a kid that size.
Yep.
For an edge rusher is that type of talent. It's going to be the run defense, though. I think the length is going to help him a lot.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, why did he never take off? Which is the question for a lot of these guys, including maybe Mikael Williams, including maybe Shemar Stewart. Is like, why has he left us wanting more? Scourton, Landon Jackson. Jordan Birch might fit that mold. But in that tier, right, of Abdul Carter's the only one with a first round grade or higher. And I'm just like kind of hedging my bets and trying to figure out who I would bet on taking that jump, whose upside I would bet on. it's Pierce Jr. at the top of that list.
Absolutely.
Ahead of Mike Green, ahead of Ezuraku, ahead of Tuimoloau, Stewart, Jalen Walker, Princely Unamunion, Mikael Williams, Landon Jackson. In a group that's loaded with upside, he's the one I would gamble on the upside hitting, or who has the highest upside to me.
Yeah, I think that he just needs to get in and out of all strength. He needs to get stronger. He needs to be able to, handle double teams, that type of stuff in the NFL. I mean, if he plays purely on the edge, you won't have to worry about it as much, but he needs to expand the repertoire, right? Like he's a good speed rusher right now. He's got some bend to his game. It's just, you need we talk speed to power, but it's not raw power. It's like he's got to get going a little bit to really see that power. It's not a lot of, punch in the hands type of stuff.
Yes.
So.
Yep. Riley, you ready to choose chill? That's right. Perfect transition.
Shout out Riley.
Shout out to producer Riley figuring out all the intricacies of the new studio. You already, okay, without being able to see the intro screen. Yeah. It's days like this where you're busy, a million things come up at once at DMVR right now, getting lots of messages of people figuring things out on a Friday that maybe could have been figured out on a Monday, Jake? But that's okay. We're going to choose chill, and we're going to choose chill with the cold, refreshing lager, chill like the Rockies. That's just perfect on a day like that. You know it. I'm talking about Coors Light. Choose chill this winter and reach for a Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/TheMVR. That's like choosing chill on top of choosing chill, by the way. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsible. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado, and a shout out to our dear friends at Bet365. Just a phenomenal partner to work with. They are going to have custom bets up. They might be up right now for both Avs and Nuggets game 1. It's the only place you can use our code DMVR365 at sign up, right? That's a beautiful thing, because then as soon as you sign up, $10 minimum deposit, $5 minimum bet. As soon as that is settled, that $5 minimum bet, win, lose, or draw. So do something that's going to cash tonight, Rockies, whatever. $150 in bonus bets that hit your account for you to play with and use. And you could bet on things like odds of Broncos first pick, where running back is plus 110, wide receiver plus 350, D-line/edge plus 550, O-line plus 750, all ahead of tight end at plus 850, which I think would surprise you. Doesn't surprise us. There's a reason we've mocked D-linemen to the Broncos before. There's a reason we're doing this episode and getting into it all. Bet365, such a phenomenal resource, such a phenomenal partner. So yeah, check them out. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you, someone you know, has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay. And then we do have Jose in the chat talking about Jonah Ellis. Don't we feel good about Jonah Ellis?
Yes.
Yes, but Jonah Ellis, more on the under, right? Like, I do think he's more of a Nick Benito alternative. Now, you can double up on Jonah and Nick on third down. I think if you played those guys all 3 downs at all times, you'd be a little light on the edges, which is why Coop and other bigger edge rushers are worth talking about here. Okay, Jake, who's the other guy you want to talk about here?
I kind of want to talk about a guy I didn't list on the top 5.
Let's do it.
Shemar Stewart.
Yes. 290 pounds. I think he could even enter the conversation in the interior D lineman. Frankly, he could be a perfect 5 technique. He could be a JFM.
He is a wrecking ball. He is so violent. But it's obvious how raw it is, because he gets back into the backfield and it's like, okay, what next? But he's got the athleticism to like chase down plays, diagnosing screens. Like his reaction to that type of stuff is it's freaky. Again, the power is just that it stands out. The first step stands out. But how does he have all this? But how do you just not finish the job? Like, you have a crazy pressure rate. You get in the backfield all the time. You're stuffing the run.
That's the thing. The tape is very intriguing.
Yes.
Because he wins a lot. He creates a lot of pressure. The stats are extremely underwhelming, and it is precisely about that.
4.5 sacks in his career.
And that's where like Ezraku, Mike Green really stand out because those dudes get in the backfield. They're closing on that play. There's a reason their TFLs are so high.
Yep.
JT Tuimoloau stands out in that. Shemar, the closing. Close the play. Finish the play. Why is that lacking? What can we teach you? Can that be solved by good coaching, or is that a bit, bless you, Riley,
Bless you,
of a non-negotiable right there? You know, how big of a red flag is that?
I was hoping you could tell me, honestly, because I'd like to think that with the power and the traits that he has and the athleticism, like if you just, again, like what I was just saying, you know, with Sean Payton, like I think this is a guy they would look at and go, yeah, we can turn him into something just based off the raw traits. But I don't know. I really can't answer that question.
Yeah, I know. He's a superstar recruit. It's the one dude that stays at A&M. Last year comes up big, much like Tennessee. That's a team that was highly ranked, and it was all because of their defensive line play. He's a star. He's got all the traits. I mean, Tavon Walker was a very similar profile and was drafted first overall.
Yeah.
So, like, if Shemar was drafted at 20, from that reasoning, great value pick, right? But yes, those concerns are very, very real. And yet the NFL, it's a power proposition. It's a power size game, and he checks off those boxes. And also it's like, sometimes it's okay to not close the plays if you're funneling them to Zach Allen and you're funneling them to Dre Greenlaw and you're funneling them to Nick Bonito and Jonah Ellis. And they're there to close on Mahomes once he's flushed out the pocket towards them because Shemar's that hard to block one-on-one. He is fascinating. He would have been my edge rusher 6 in front of Jalen Walker, who many think is a lock to go top 10.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to me, it's a similar like upside gamble. You know, like who am I actually gambling on?
Right.
At that point, I think I'd probably go Shemar.
It'll be interesting to see just where he lands because I think that'll tell you a lot about what the NFL thinks about what they can do with him. Because if he does go top 10, that's obvious. Like someone's going to plan on him having a big role sooner rather than later. But like you said, if he goes maybe end of the first round, that makes me a little bit nervous because I don't think the NFL sees him as someone who can come in and make an impact.
Yeah, for sure. He in Denver would be very intriguing as both the first sub for Cooper and the first sub for JFM.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's almost like a full-time gig by being the first sub for both those guys. I'll talk about JT Tuimoloau, the Ohio State edge rusher who's been on our radar since he had that insane game against Penn State in 2022 as a sophomore. His playoffs, Jake, Ohio State, national champions, right? And 4 games in the playoffs because they don't get the bye.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 tackles for a loss against Tennessee, 3 against Oregon, 2.5 against Texas, 2 against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Wow. Premier competition, and he did that. And like a very interesting name because I've got him just under that group of speed rushers. That's his one knock. He doesn't have that electric first step.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have the bend necessarily. But he's big, he's long, he's strong. The athleticism isn't elite, but it's pretty good, even though it shows up less in the electric first step or the bend. He's got the speed to power. Motor's great. Instincts are great. Pursuit's always good. And when he has to like drop back or is put in space, plays well.
Mm-hmm.
And a kid who was asked to play as a stand-up edge when, right, with the Broncos, he's more hand in the ground. He's more that Jonathan Cooper, maybe even JFM because he's almost 270 pounds.
Yeah.
I wonder if he could play some 5 tech or play a little bit on more of an inside gap in, you know, a third down situation where you've got, you know, a sub package 4-man front. The floor is super duper high. The ceiling, though, is a smidge limited.
Sure.
How much does that ultimately matter when you're producing at these levels against that type of elite competition? You know, let's try not to be too nitpicky. I think this is a guy who really fits the NFL mold. and will get paid a lot of money in his second contract, and maybe won't be a super duper star, but will be a very good defensive end for a long, long time.
Yeah, he's a high floor player. Was a top 5 recruit, I think, when he came out of high school.
Cali kid, right?
I think so. But he just played a lot of football. And, I think coming into this year, one of the questions, like we just talked about with some of these other guys, was production.
Mm-hmm.
He goes out and has 12 and a half sacks and 22 tackles for a loss. How about that for production?
Kind of dominated.
So I'm not really worried about it. I understand why he's in this range at this point. He's 53 on the consensus board.
Yep.
So
I think Fran has him 40th and edge rusher 4.
He's just a high floor player. He's not someone you're going to spend a first round pick on and, build a defensive line around. But for a situation like Denver, where you've got pieces already along the defensive line, the defense is one of, if not the best in the league. This is kind of a plug and play player.
Yeah, he really is. And again, I saw Jonathan Cooper at Ohio State. Different universes of prospects coming out of
100%.
Ohio State. And again, Cooper's been an amazing pick, an amazing hit. So who would be your sleeper outside of the top 5, maybe even outside of the top 10?
I like your guy, Kennard.
Yeah, Kyle Kennard. Yep.
The guy I want to mention,
South Carolina.
Is Tyler Beatty. I don't know where we're at with the pronunciation.
Hard to say.
But the 6'5", 260-pound defensive lineman from BYU. Again, production hit or miss. His best year was last year in 2023, or I guess 2 years ago. 5.5 sacks, 9 TFLs, but only 16.5 sacks in his career. Again, just a high floor player. I think he's got the strength, the length, the athleticism to just kind of go in and contribute right away. I just don't know if he'll be one of, if not the top 15, 20 best pass rushers, 5 techniques in the NFL.
Yep.
But again, for a situation like Denver, where you're kind of just looking for some more depth, maybe, you get a little bit more pop out of a guy like this. I don't know, you take him high day 3 or something. He's just someone I'd keep an eye on. He dominated Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, and he was a game wrecker at times, even though the production didn't say so.
Right. BYU kind of flew under the radar, as far as prospects, but he's definitely one worth mentioning. I like that. He'd be a nice day 3 pick. Give me Braden Swinson from LSU. Honestly, a guy who I think should be closer to the top 50 than outside the top 100. He was really outstanding, has some speed to power, has some size to his game, and has some of the explosive traits as well. So I really like Swinson. I think there's a lot to get excited about, and because it's such a deep class, I think you could really luck out by getting him. D-line / edge rusher on Bet365 is set at 8.5. The over-under to go how many first rounders we have at the position. Would you go over or under? When I checked this morning, the lines were pretty even.
So is Jalen Walker listed as an edge or linebacker then?
That is an important question. I'm guessing he'll be an edge.
So I see 4 first-round defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Graham, Grant, Harmon, and Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
The edges, if we're counting Walker, there's at least, this is an over. There's at least 4 of them. And then, like I said, I love James Pierce, but we'll see who loves Shemar Stewart and if they're willing to go up. If just one of those guys go, and then Carter, Walker, Williams, and Mike Green go, there's your 9.
Right. And then, it's one of those positions where Ezraku, Tuimoloau, Mikel Williams, Landon Jackson, none of those guys would be shockers to go in the first, and that's kind of how you hedge your bets. For maybe Kenneth Grant is a little more up in the air, but I wouldn't be surprised if a Tyleik Williams slipped into the right. So I think the trenches will be heavy. I think there'll be a lot of value for the Broncos, and I would not be surprised if they went edge or defensive line in the top 100 at all. In fact, I kind of expect.
something we talked about, I think, a few months ago on this show. Like, are we sleeping on this need? And, a few months ago, January, February, you're kind of not as deep into this stuff, right? Like, you have a more, I think, overarching view on everything. Like, we weren't deep into, the running backs, we got to go get this many guys and this skill set. You look at this roster and it's like, what's the easiest way for them to get better? Yes, running back and, some of those positions, but add strength to strength. Make this defense a no-doubter as one of the best in the NFL again this year, and add a premier player on the defensive line.
That stood out to me from Sean Payton's comments about the best way to help a young quarterback is defense, running game.
Yep.
And I think Payton, they know it's easier to find a running back second round and beyond than it is a top line
for sure
defensive lineman
for sure.
or edge rusher. Also, both those guys have a history of like loading up on those positions. Like the more, the merrier. Quick break, and the more, the merrier on Toyota as well. Talk about a great value pick. Talk about O-line, D-line. Toyota with their trucks, their SUVs. It's in their DNA. They are a stabilizer. The perfect car for days like this, where the Colorado weather is not cooperating. No worries for you, Toyota driver. Get in your car, get lost in the mountains. What a glorious day today it would be to get lost in the mountains. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you. They have a ton of zero-emission vehicles, combined more than any other automaker. Choose from stuff like the Tundra iForce, a Max hybrid truck. And then, Toyota's SUVs are absolutely elite. So many offerings around the Front Range. Check out your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DMVR. Toyota, let's go places. And a shout out to us. It is that time, folks. Yes, go to the DMVR bar. Be at the Mecca for the biggest moments in Denver sports. Watch parties for Avs and Nuggets going on Saturday. And then just a week from today at Stoney's, we will be doing our draft party for the Broncos. Already tons of tickets sold. There are more remaining. So you go at thedmbr.com/events to check it all out. Get your tickets now. It's a great deal. Meal, drinks every hour. Benny Fowler, myself, Hank. You guys will be joining after the Buffs guys get drafted.
Yep.
It's going to be a lit time. On top of that, sounds like we'll be having a Nuggets playoff game that night. So it's going to be an absolute blast. Doing some cool giveaways, including our tailgate tickets. So you want to get in on all the fun. You're a hardcore draft listener. I'd love to see you there. I'd love to be there. And when I'm taking a break off stage, get your draft takes. It's going to be an absolute all-timer. Cannot wait. Become a diehard today to get a discount on those events and our merch and everything else. thedmbr.com/events, QR code, link in the description, the whole shebang. Okay, Jakester, we get to change our focus to O-line, and let's start on offensive tackles. Kind of a divisive class. I have a lot of first-rounders, a lot of high floors, not so many super-duper high ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start with your top five, or shall I?
I can, but I have a question first.
Yes.
Is Will Campbell playing tackle?
For me, he is not. For me, he will come up when we talk interior offensive line.
Okay. Then Armin Membau, OT1.
I like it.
Kelvin Banks, OT2. I don't think there's too much separation between the two, honestly,
Safe
as well.
Safe pick. Yep. In fact, Banks has the experience playing as a left tackle, which in my eyes boosts him. Yes.
Then I'll take your guy, Josh Connerly Jr. He reminds me of like those Washington State tackles we got, like, I don't know.
Andre Dillard.
Exactly. Like just great in pass pro and everything else. It's like
great comp, but yeah.
Well,
I mean, Dillard did not work out.
In terms of like I mean, the stats
Yeah,
are
no,
like
I
he's
mean-
only allowed 2 sacks in the last 2 years or something like that.
I think it's a spot on comp. Our viewers
I'm not
aren't
trying
gonna-
to. I'm not
our
trying to
viewers
hate
aren't
on
going
your
to get
guy.
excited, but no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, only 1 sack and 2 QB hits allowed last season, same as his junior year on Bo.
Where are you at with Josh Simmons?
Love
Like,
him. He's
is-
my O tackle 3, maybe the highest upside of anyone in this class at the position.
But he's the one with the injury, right? The patellar.
Yes.
Like, that's a big injury, bro.
I know.
And you feel okay with it?
Well, it's balancing super duper upside with a little risky riskaroo. As you know, though, I am not a doctor, however, so
True.
I mostly lean on the tape.
Okay, then.
Let the doctors do the doctor stuff.
Then he's an NA for me because I can't.
Okay, I appreciate it. Dr. Schwanitz impression.
I like Ariante Irsay. I just like the size, man. So he's 4 for me. 5, I'd probably put Marcus Mbao. I like him a lot.
Ooh, that's a great call by you. The Purdue
Yeah.
right tackle, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I like him a lot, bro.
That's a great tackle. Yeah, I mean, I think Membao's kind of closer to this top tier than he is like the next tier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. For me, it's Connerly 1, Irsay 2. I don't know how you just watch the Eagles win that Super Bowl and you don't want the biggest, baddest O-lineman in this class. I think his upside is super duper. His one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl were spectacular. Josh Simmons, if it wasn't for the injury, he's probably the guy you're talking about as a like set and forget top 10 pick.
Yeah. Tape is great. It's just, can you get back to that?
Exactly. Armand Membao is 4th for me. Love the
Interesting.
upside and the age. He is a right tackle only. The size isn't super duper, so that hinders the profile a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then give me Calvin Banks. And Donovan Jackson is right there with the rest of them. Hard to pick 2 to talk about.
I want to talk about Kelvin Banks then.
Please.
And I want to know why you have him as 5th on this list, because I just watched him against like the premier competition. I watched him against Georgia and Michigan. Dominated Mason Graham, handled those edge rushers from Georgia well. He's got the size. He played left tackle, as you said. Like, there's not many true left tackles in this class.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be valued from that angle. I think he was like 33 and a half arm length, like not quite to 34, but
size is fine.
Fine. Yeah, totally. I thought he moved really well. I just don't like, I need to know why you're not as high on him.
Yeah, I think he's maybe not the most natural in pass pro. I see him bend a little too low.
He does,
I think
yes.
the quickness in feet isn't like elite, and I think that came up in the testing where he was like well above average. But and I think so ultimately it's like, am I drafting him to be an elite left tackle? Because I think I'll be underwhelmed if that's the case.
That's true.
Am I drafting him to be a really high-end guard or maybe convert to right tackle where his traits might be more suited to him? Then yeah, I'm in on that. I think he's Ikem Ekwonu, the Carolina Panthers, NC State, with a little less size, a little less like pure explosiveness. So
Not
I think
as much
he's like
nastiness too.
exactly. So it's like nice, really safe. I think this is a first-round O-lineman who's gonna like be a solid starter at like 3 positions at minimum for you. I just don't think he gets that bump of being like an elite offensive tackle that would vault him in that higher area.
So I think I kind of went opposite, I guess, of edge, where I like was taking, physical specimen type things. Like, I just want safe offensive tackles.
100%. Sometimes you just want a guy that doesn't look sloppy, that looks smooth on tape.
Yeah, I just want someone I can trust. Like, I don't need you to be a top 5 offensive tackle, best guy in the league. I just need you to hold down your spot and know and have that trust that you can do that. And I think I get that with Kelvin Banks and Armand Membao.
Yeah, for sure. Membao, some upside too. I think he fits the right scheme. I'm going to talk about Irsay again. Like, moves so well in pass pro. Watch him against Penn State. Watch him against Ohio State. Watch his one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. Pass pro, he plays so well. I think he could fit in more of a zone scheme too, because while he maybe doesn't move like explosively when you put him on the move, he's so good at like getting those angle blocks.
He is.
At like putting his body in the right position to like, cover you off from getting through. And that size with the ability in pass pro, we haven't talked about it a lot this season, but premier traits really came into play with both these positions, tackle and edge.
Yeah.
And it's why the guys with those electric first steps with the bend, it's the stuff you can't teach. And it's the same with Irsay. It's the same with Simmons. The same with Connerly. These guys are natural left tackles, supreme athletes, and they just have those premier traits that you cannot teach.
Again, it's the size. Kind of what you said. It's more so if he's moving like north and south, like on rails, and then it's like, okay, if he's got to move laterally, like I can see the limitations and stuff. Right. So maybe a little like Orlando Brownish, just with how big he is. I mean, maybe not as natural as a pass protector as he was.
Brown was also like huge.
I mean,
he's not quite that size.
But like, you just take guys like that on the offensive line, man. You just take big bodies.
It's the NFL, man. It's a size game. Like, dudes don't look big in the NFL the way they did in college.
Right.
Unless they're massive.
Yes.
This guy's massive.
Yeah.
Like, you want guys who are first guys off the bus. Like, again, how could you watch last year's Super Bowl and not be like, Jordan Mailata? I want that dude. Find me guys like that. Lane Johnson ain't small either. Lane Johnson, freak. I remember studying him at Oklahoma as a JUCO transfer. Absolute beast, you know? Like, those are the offensive tackles you want. Who's your second guy to talk about?
I want to talk about M'Bow, but I think he's going to profile more as a guard. But
he could be an elite right guard. Like a power guard that we run behind on the strong side in a power scheme, no doubt.
Let's just talk about him then. I mean, the guy's hands are great. He moves really well. He's not going to be a right tackle, I don't think. He's, I think, just listed at 300 pounds. So I think
he plays so much bigger than his actual
He does,
size.
and he's got some nastiness to him. Like, I love it, man. So I just fell in love with his tape. He was just so much fun to watch. Again, great hands. I mean, he got guys falling all over themselves.
6'4", 332, but 33 and a half inch arms.
Okay.
So 6'4", just below average, 330, good, 33 and a half, just below, like you're profiling him as an elite, like just beat up on you. He doesn't exactly have the beat up on you size.
Right. But he will lay on guys and, let them know that he won that rep. So I love that about him.
And he moves well.
He moves so well.
And he's super young.
He gets up to the second level. Like, he just glides up there. It's so natural for him. So, yeah, he's just a guy that I fell in love with watching these guys.
He's super fun. I certainly understand the hype. And I mean, the separation between Connerly Jr., who's 10th on my board, and M'Bow is 14th. They're all right there.
Yeah.
The top four tackles are all smack in the middle. I guess I'll just talk Connerly Jr. I'm sorry if you're regular listeners of our show.
I wanted to save him for you. So.
You're a bit maybe annoyed of hearing about Bo Nix's former left tackle, but this is the best O-lineman on the best offensive line in the country. That's not me saying it. It's the awards saying it. Ohio State twice, Penn State against Abdul Carter, no problem. Dealt with those guys perfectly. I know the knock is size. Like, I've talked to Fran Duffy. That's why Fran only has him as his tackle/guard 9. But I don't know. The testing, 6'4", 311 with, depending on which measurements you go by, 33 and a half inches, 34 at the Senior Bowl. So it's the size of M'Bow. It's the size of Josh Simmons. Like, he is not, and those guys to me play and look bigger. He moves so well in pass pro, so balanced, uses the arms well, never rattled, the opposite of sloppy, just a smooth pass protector. And look, you're a natural left tackle who has experience at the position. You thrive in pass protection. You're athletic enough to fit any scheme. Yeah, those are important boxes to check off for me. Like, to me, those are premier traits that are going to rank you a lot higher than guys we're projecting as more like guards. or who might not stick.
And he had great performances against like Abdul Carter, Ohio State. Like he really like took it to those guys.
And Oregon would do the thing where they're putting him in space on the RPO and just like running behind him on an island.
Yep.
He's so good, man. He plays with good natural leverage. Yeah, I don't get it. I've compared him to Christian Darrisaw, who I thought was a real standout at Virginia Tech. And outside of being out for the season last year with the injury, it's a guy who's getting paid a lot of money and is like a high-end left tackle, and it was the same thing. Like, I don't get what everyone else is seeing, but this guy to me has got premier traits, and everyone else is kind of missing the boat. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you can nitpick like the strength element of his game. You know, maybe
100%
be better. You know, in terms of anchor and stuff like that. But
it's just funny the exceptions we're willing to make for Peter Skoronski and Will Campbell.
Yes.
But then the best left tackle on the best O-line in the country, who's literally lost 3 games in 2 years as a starter, doesn't get that same concession.
Yeah. And he's seasoned. I mean, he's played a lot of football. Again, played really well against some of the best pass rushers in the country too. So I don't know. I liked him when I watched him. In terms of just, I mean, I was sold just based off those 2 games, honestly, Penn State and Ohio State. Like, just off of that, I was like, all right, this guy's a player.
I'm saying. Sleeper?
It's
an interesting class for that. I could go first if you'd rather.
Yeah, go for it. I've got one guy just from a side standpoint.
Marcus Bryant, the left tackle for Missouri, playing opposite Membao, former SMU guy. So when I brought him up, you immediately knew what I was talking about because Coach Prime and the Buffs were in on him.
Yep.
And then his pro day was like stupid good. He had 34 and 5/8 arm length. So like ginormous. Somehow under 9-inch hands though. So like baby hands. Weird. But like 40-yard dash, 5:04, which is elite. Short shuttle, 5:03, which is pretty dang good. Bench press with those arms, 26. Vertical jump, over 31.5. So he's got the athleticism. I think you could do a lot worse. And like, look, Ezuraku got him for a sack. He's not perfect, but I think outside of the top 100, you take him as a developmental left tackle, and he's got that athleticism. He's got some of the pass pro chops. You can figure out some other stuff. And I know we're a Palchevsky podcast, right? Henry would be, we would have to save 5 minutes to do some Palcho content. But yeah, this guy, I think, would be a really nice developmental tackle in a class that's got a lot of those, frankly. So Miles Hinton from Michigan would be fun. Jalen Rivers, Cam Ward's left tackle from Miami, Charles Grant, William and Mary, small school kid. There's a lot of nice developmental offensive tackles that you can find later on. Over under for first rounders is set at 6.5, but that's O-lineman. So maybe we'll save that after we go through our interior O-line.
Okay.
Would you like to start with your top 5 or shall I?
Interior.
Sorry,
I got to sneeze. I'm trying to. I got issues.
I'll start it. You work on that sneeze. No problem at all. So
it ain't happening. Go ahead.
Will Campbell gets the love. Good for you, Will Campbell. Donovan Jackson, Ohio State's left guard who converted to left tackle, really turned me into a believer. Gets it as well. Tyler Booker's interior O-lineman 3. Grey Zabel, who, look, man, I went back to some Serial Bowl tape. I love this kid.
And all over the board, too.
Fantastic. So the size limits him, but he's a top 30 prospect. He's, in fact, on my board just ahead of JT Tuimoloau. He's edge rush, interior O-line 4, and then Tate Rutledge just barely gets ahead in my top 5 ahead of Jared Wilson, the other interior O-lineman from Georgia. So Jared Wilson's the center, particularly intriguing for the Broncos. Tate Rutledge, right guard with the stash, just a vibe.
Yep.
And dealt with some injuries last year, but when he was playing for Georgia a year ago, really stood out as a power guard.
I've got Will Campbell first. He's so interesting that I don't really know what to think. Like, he's got outlier wingspan, like a historical outlier wingspan that I think only centers really have.
So glad you brought up wingspan and not just arm length, Jake, because this is important. He is 6'5", so he's actually taller than most of the offensive tackles we talked about. The arms, okay, pro day was 33 inches. All other measurements were under 33 inches. And again, 33 is barely passable. But it is the narrow shoulders that give him, like, historically small wingspan at the position. So I'm sorry for that diatribe, but I think
that was great. I mean,
important.
Because you see that shows up on film. Like there's a lot of times where he kind of absorbs contact, and it's just like he's using a shoulder check really to block some guys. And I don't know, that kind of scares me, at least on the edge. I mean, you can get away with that stuff on the interior, but then the interior, I just, again, I've brought this up on the show. Where's the flexibility with him? I mean, like lower half, like where's the bend? Like I watch Grey Zabel get down in a 3-point stance, and I'm like, that's what an NFL lineman should look like in a 3-point stance. And he can get down, like they kind of put his hand in the dirt at times, but man, he just stands straight up when he's playing at that left tackle position. And it makes me wonder, like, can you really, move like how you do at tackle right now? Can you really do that at guard, coming out of that stance? Because I think that's a lot of his advantage at LSU is playing kind of straight up, and he's just such a natural mover that he can really follow guys, and he's really athletic. You know what I mean? So he's
coming downhill, right? You see a little more, and I mean his athletic testing was super duper for sure.
Sure, and that's again. So this is how I'm going to wrap it up. I mean, he's a good football player, though.
Good football player.
He's a really good football player.
Yep.
So
he just isn't franchise offensive tackle, which I think is okay.
But it just that stuff just scares me. Like the outlier stuff mixed with like, I mean, I'm looking at him in a stance. Like, can you really play center? Like, I don't know.
I know.
So, anyways, I just had to go off on that because it confuses me.
There's far too many guys that like Jod Campbell gets a sack on him. Princely Unimanen has some really good reps. Landon Jackson got some at some point.
Everyone has gotten him. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you looked really great when Jaden Daniels was his quarterback. Like,
yeah.
Interesting.
One of the most mobile players probably to come in the draft last few years.
Well, Josh Connerly only got better, even though Bo was obviously helping him as a sophomore. Yeah, he's a fascinating conversation. And it sounds like the NFL is going to say, nope, shut up. We don't care about any of that stuff Jake and Dre are talking about. We're going to draft him and stick him at left tackle, and we'll see, man. I kind of felt the same about Skoronski.
That's the guy I was thinking of.
I think was way cleaner in his draft year tape. Yeah, Skoronski was more of a like bull in a china shop. Like if Skoronski got his arms on you, you were in trouble.
And
he had necessarily feel about that about Will Campbell. And Skoronski with the Titans, very tough place to thrive in, has not looked great as he's been converted to right tackle.
Well, I'm trying to pull it up. Yeah, he had 32 and a quarter-inch arms. Like that's another like
outlier.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, no, he's scary. He is scary. I'll talk about Zabel because I get it. Like, there's a big difference between people who rank Zabel if they were at the Senior Bowl and people who weren't, and that's why Fran has him really high. He has Skoronski length as well. Maybe in a pinch he could play a little offensive tackle. He would not be a season long solution.
Sure.
But at guard, or center, he looks so natural moving laterally. He looks so natural on pulls and just being put in motion. The athleticism really stands out. Such natural like hips and leverage and aggression and strong hands. And if you're looking for a center prospect like Denver, this is a guy you should have an eye on, much like Jared Wilson of Georgia. I think I was reading a Tom Pelissero article recently was saying like Jared Wilson's a guy who could be going higher than where many people have him prognosticated.
Yeah, man, Zabel is awesome. I didn't really list them out, so I'd probably go Campbell, Zabel, Rutledge,
Donovan Jackson, Tyler Booker.
Donovan Jackson, then probably Booker. I really like Savanea, though.
7A is good. The Arizona do-it-all O-lineman.
And then if I put M'Bow in there, that's just, I mean, he's
Right.
probably in the third spot
Right.
or something like that too. So
I like it. Do you have someone else you wanted to talk on?
I'll talk about 7A a bit because, and again, what you just said was Zabel, maybe not as versatile as him, but 7A has got quite a bit of versatility. They asked a lot out of him. He played both tackle spots. He played guard. And I think he's a good guard. I think he's someone who can come in, and I think he's scheme diverse too. Like, I see the power with him. I think he moves really well, especially getting up to the second level. He's a very good blocker out in space. That intrigues me too. So he's someone that I just think, again, like a high floor player from these offensive linemen. Like, I'm going to value that at this point when it comes to those positions, just because I kind of know what I'm getting, and I think he's going to be a plus guard sooner rather than later.
Trying to find Ryan Clady's arm length because I saw Jose asking about his size concerns. He was light, but he was also 6'6", Jose. So, I think there's something to be said there, but arm length will tell us a lot.
Donovan Jackson's just impressive too. Again, the versatility with him. I mean, having to kick out to left tackle after the injury to Simmons, I thought he played really well there.
Outstanding.
But he is a guard, I think, ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah, though at least the size and the fact that he has that experience, like, I'm willing to believe Donovan Jackson as a tackle more so than Will Campbell and Grey Zabel for sure. In some ways, maybe as much as Calvin Banks. All right. I mean, AI is telling me Ryan Clady had 36 and 7-inch.
Yikes,
Like, that's
crazy.
I don't know that that's possible. Like, longer than God. Just like, holy cow. Clady was such a phenom. And Jose, that is, right? We're all impacted. We're all that is something that's in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is Ryan Clady is kind of my ideal offensive tackle.
Sure, absolutely.
I remember being a little low on Nate Solder because he was so tall, and I watched a Cal game at the beginning of the season against the Buffs. They were like blitzing some safety who got under his pads like a couple times in a row. But those natural movers who also have the length,
Yep.
that's where you have the potential to be a high-end offensive tackle,
100%.
I think this 6.5 number that's been set gets murdered.
So this is for all offensive line, right?
All offensive linemen. I mean,
so let's talk through it. Campbell, M'Bow, Banks are locks, right?
yeah.
Is Zabel a first-round lock?
Let's put them to the side for a second.
Okay.
Campbell, M'Bow, Banks.
Connerly.
Booker.
I was going to go to Connerly, but Booker is probably a first-rounder too.
Uh-huh.
Does your guy make it into the first round?
I think Connerly, Irsay are basically locks as well. And I mean,
yeah.
I don't know how you put on that Ohio State tape and one out of Simmons and Donovan Jackson isn't also a first-round lock. Like, if I could buy an alt line, I would buy this at like 7.5 and still hammer the over. There's just, everyone needs O-line, man.
Of course. And
Everyone needs it, especially first half of the draft, second half of the draft. Everyone needs it.
And exactly where I was going to go. I mean, you see these guys just go off the board like crazy in the, day one, day two, just because it's premium. And, we didn't touch on the developmental guys for a reason as much, because you're bringing those guys in and, man, you are just hoping and praying that they find something along the way. Sean Payton has had success doing that quite a bit, actually. Zach Streif, the guy who's the run game coordinator for the Broncos now, he was, I think, a day 3 pick, late day 3.
Mm-hmm.
They did that with Jari Evans at guard. Taron Armstead, I think, was a day 3 pick that they
became like the best O tackle of his generation for a minute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's like exceptions. It's just it's
We've
crazy
also
that
seen
Sean's
him
hitting on him.
draft like Eric McCoy really high, or like already having Armstead and drafting Ryan Ramczyk in the first round. Like Sean's a Parcells disciple, and he goes after these big men. He understands, just like the Eagles won the Super Bowl. That's how you win a contender. Obviously, we started a little late, so we're going to overtime real quick. That's right, thednvr.com. Watch the feed, check out the site. and you can catch all the content in overtime there, or even as an audio listener. Yeah, it's your point exactly, and it's so different from D-line edge, where I'm like, oh man, there's 12 D-linemen I think could be like future starters. There's like 15 edge rushers who at worst could be borderline starters or high-end rotation guys. O-tackle, it's like, yeah, my top 6, 7. After that, I have some real questions.
Yeah.
Like there's a good chance the rest of this list, they just don't stick at offensive tackle.
There's legitimate questions with, I think, damn near everyone. I mean, Membao, can you put him at left tackle?
Exactly.
I mean, is he just a right tackle only?
Right. The spiel I gave on Banks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like if you have Connerly size concerns. Okay, well, guess what? The list is now Irsay and Simmons.
Right.
And everyone else to you as a guard.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
You know, like they just dry up quick. It's all, outside of quarterback. I don't think there's another position where it's like the requirements are so stinking high that it's like, yeah, there's like 3 dudes every year who come out who are actually offensive tackles.
Yep. No, you're right. So I would go take that over 6.5 as well. Just again, these guys just go, man. Even, looking at the consensus board here, it's a lot of guys going, after like the halfway point. Like they've got Connerly at number 31. They've got Booker at number 28. They've got Zabel at 18. Like you'll see, I think, a run in the back half of the first round as opposed to what we're used to, where it's like 3 tackles go in the top 10 or something.
Yep, exactly. And I'll be fascinated to see where Will Campbell goes, because again,
I want to know where he's going to play.
And again, it's not the measurements, right? It's the tape. It's the advanced stats. It's him compared to Irsay, compared to Membao, compared to even Banks or Simmons. He allowed 11 hurries last season. That's a lot. That's more than any of those other guys. He allowed 2 sacks, 5 QB hits. That's compared to like Membao, who's 0 in both categories. Connerly, who's 1 and 2 in both categories. Irsay, who's 1 and 1 in both categories. Kelvin Banks, 1 and 2. Simmons, who played far less, 0 and 0. So like as far as allowing hurries and allowing sacks, he has more than basically all those other guys combined last season.
And it's against guys that we talked about in the first half of the show, like these SEC premier pass rushers who I don't even think, we didn't even really dig into this, but like there's not a premier pass rusher. Like even Abdul Carter, he's up there. He's a freak athletically. I think a lot of people like to compare him to Micah Parsons. I don't know if he's that. He's definitely not like Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett, and again, Von Miller. Like
Parsons was drafted, 12th overall?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So he wasn't drafted where Vaughn and the Bosas and Hutchinsons of the world were drafted, Myles Garrett. But that shows you the weakness of this class. We're drafting the guy who would be 12th most years, 3rd overall this year, 4th overall, whatever.
So that's, again, like, not to, like, again, Will Campbell's a good football player. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on the guy.
Extraordinary football player. If he was, see, even the Quentin Nelson, though, comp is hard for me because it's exactly what you broke down. That athleticism and, like, just ability to move, it's a little different for him.
So, I don't know. It's fascinating. I'm really interested to see just who takes the shot on him, and again, where he's going to play. Like, because I could see it. I mean, people have thrown him out there at center that I've seen just looking at Twitter and other draft analysts, and that's kind of wild to me. A guy who is like an all SEC left tackle is all of a sudden going to be a center.
Especially since the appeal is like, oh yeah, he's been starting at left tackle at LSU since he was a freshman. Like, all right, get ready to learn center, because like,
and he
all of a sudden that's not a big pro.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like, well, shoot. Now it's time to learn a whole other job now, buddy.
When he talked about that, I think it was at the combine where he's like, all of a sudden we're talking about my arm length and this stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's part of the process, but like, I mean, you can get away with a lot of this stuff at college, especially when you're LSU and you've got just.
He went from Jaden Daniels to Garrett Nussmeier, who's going to be one of the top quarterbacks next year.
That too. Like, I mean, it's just a great offense. Like, you've got wide receivers, you got backs, you got, a guard next to you who's probably going to be at least the top half of the
Miles
draft,
Frazier,
like day 3 or more. So it's like, I don't know. There's just so much to consider that it almost scares me, even though the tape at times is like, okay, he's pretty solid. I mean, more than solid. I mean, what was the numbers in terms of pressure of sacks that he allowed this year?
Will Campbell?
Yeah.
2.
Exactly. So it's such an interesting conversation. I mean, I even went into watching his film kind of like, I can't keep these thoughts that I've already have when I watch.
Man. I know.
But then come out of it and it's like, I feel like I have more questions now.
I know.
So
I know. And he's kind of getting a pass. You know, like the way people feel about T-Mac, I feel about him.
Yes.
Like, it's like,
yes.
I don't think you're digging enough. All right. This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Always a good time, brother.
Next week, still figuring out day and time, but we will get you all set with our draft preview, and then Thursday live show, Friday live show, Saturday show, recapping, or maybe live show itself. It's going to be a blast. I feel so fortunate. Thank you all for making this possible. Thank you to all sponsors, and thank you most of all to my man Riley Sorbo, who gets to choose chill now. Until next week, bye. Have a great weekend.
We all silly like the mayor.
Or big news? Of course you do. So I don't blame them, but of course Aaron Rodgers is going to do this. He's probably going to do it in a month again. He always wants people talking about him, even when he's